Hey beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for being here. If you're new here, make sure you click that subscribe button. I would love for you to join the family. Y'all, I am super excited about today's video. So excited. We're gonna be talking about holy girl habits. Yes, holy girl habits that should get you closer to the Lord, help you refine yourself, and just become fully the person who He's called you to be. I'm telling you that some of these are probably something you haven't thought about, but that you need to be thinking about. So let's get straight into the video. Okay, so we have 7 habits. So I need you to get your notes ready, get your pen and paper ready, get your drink ready. Let's just have a little chit chat, okay? Let's just make sure that we're all doing the habits to become the better versions of ourselves, and just to make sure that we're constantly growing and not leaving anything that God has for us on the table, okay? So coming in at number 1, we're gonna talk about taking care of your body. I just feel like as a Christ follower, you need to be taking care of your body inwardly and outwardly, right? Like a lot of us struggle with gluttony. A lot of us struggle with not eating right, not working out, not even protecting our minds. Everyone wants to talk about protecting your peace. Okay, yeah, I get it. But I just mean like mentally doing what's good for yourself and putting yourself in positions that are helping you grow. Like we need to make sure we're taking care of our mind and our spirit in that way, but also that we're paying attention to what we eat and how we work out and just how we're taking care of our body in general. So like if you struggle with gluttony, maybe you eat too much, or maybe you emotionally eat. And I know a lot of us joke about that, but that's a serious thing, right? Emotionally eating or eating based on like your time in life or what's going on. But ideally, if we have reign over all these things, we are not letting them control us, but we're being very cautious about them. So I would say that a number 1 habit is just taking care of your body inwardly and outwardly, making sure you are in the gym and working out in whatever way that looks like for you. I strength train right now and I love it. It makes me feel really strong and empowered, and I can see my body changing. So that might be something you want to look into, you know, making sure that you're eating healthy, that you're meal prepping if that's your thing. Like I love meal prepping and it helps me stay on track. It helps me not impulse buy when I'm out and about because I know I got food at home. Like mama used to say, we got food at home. So meal prepping if you need to, looking into healthy ways, even looking at where your body may be deficient. Like, are you vitamin D deficient? Are you iron deficient? Just making sure we're taking care of our temples, right? Our temples don't belong to us, they belong to the Lord. So we want to make sure we're taking care of them as best as we can, so that if He does bless us with all these years here, that they're optimized, right? That we aren't getting older and having to deal with the consequences of some really bad health choices that we made when we were younger. So take care of your temple. Take care of your temple. It's never too late. No matter where you are, you can always go up from here. So take care of your temple. Really be introspective and think like, okay, am I emotionally eating? Do I struggle with gluttony? Like, what is my vices? Like, what if you put in front of me, I cannot turn that down? Am I working out? Am I making excuses? Or is it actually realistic things that are stopping me from being where I want to be physically, mentally, and spiritually? I'm gonna leave that right there for y'all. But yes, please take care of your temple, okay? So number 2 is not forsaking the gathering. So this holy girl habit, the Lord dropped on my spirit as the week went on. And I honestly was like, whoa, this is good. Okay, like this is really good, because I feel like what happened is after COVID, and even like just around the culture that we're in right now, some people are in this mentality where they're like, oh, I don't need the church. I don't need the gathering, right? Like I am the church. And yeah, I get it. But we need the church. We need a spiritual gathering. Even Jesus, like I literally thought about this and I was mind blown. When He was 12 years old, He left Joseph and Mary and He went to the temple so He can learn from the teachers of that time. Jesus, the Son of God, already all knowing, in that young age, literally separated. I mean, they were freaking out trying to look for this man, but literally separated, went back to the temple so that He could sit under the teachers and learn from them and learn from the Torah at that time. And if He needed the church, what makes you think you don't need the church? Like, you know everything, you can do everything, you can fight like all these spiritual battles. You don't need discernment, you don't need accountability, you don't need community. Like, we need the church. We need the capital C church. We need our local churches. And I know it's hard sometimes to find a good church home, but I would encourage you to keep looking. I've been in a place looking for a church home when I lived in another state, where it took me like a year and a half to find my church home. But once I did, my life was transformed. So I would just say, do not forsake the gathering. Do not think you can do it all by yourself. The Bible talks about where 2 or 3 are gathered, and not just you and your husband or you and your sister, but like collectively gathered. I know there's times where I go into church and I'm struggling, right? And just being in that environment and seeing people uplift the Lord, or hearing testimonies, or being held accountable, or being like, oh, I didn't think about that scripture in this way. Just little things like iron sharpens iron. And literally in a healthy, growing church community, that can mean so much, and that can do so much when you're around people who are really seeking the Lord together, right? And that can really just like grow together. So I will say, please do not forsake the gathering. I know a lot of people watch church online these days and they think that's sufficient. And I've had some really amazing spiritual moments like during COVID watching church online, but I will say like go back in person if you can and just be around people. Like it's a different feeling when you can tangibly feel the Holy Spirit in the room and you can just learn hand in hand with other people. So holy girl habit number 2 is do not forsake the gathering, even when it's hard. You can do it. Okay, and the third holy girl habit goes hand in hand with that one, and it's community. Y'all, community is so important, and right now I'm struggling to find community. Like, I live in Atlanta, we live in the city right now, so I'm struggling to find community, and not just like a church family, but people that I actually do life with. I'm part of a married small group, but I used to be part of a women's small group, like when I used to live in another state, and those were some of my closest friends during that time of my life. So I will say don't forsake community. Like, even if you're struggling to find Christian community, like continue to press into that, continue to pray about that, continue to put yourself out there. Like, we can't be complaining if we're the same ones that after church we just get up and leave. We'd be like, okay, bye. Like, I'm out. we can't be complaining about that. So put yourself out there, go to different events, try to find Christian community, Christian women or Christian men that you can do life together, that can pray for you, that can intercede for you, that can, hold you accountable for different things and just love on you. Go out, go get coffee with you, like go to the movies with you, go on a walk with you, like just do life together like the Bible calls us to do. If someone is down, helping lift you up. If someone has a need, providing for that need. If you have surplus, that's what community is about. So I would say holy girl habit number 3 is definitely finding a Christ-like community and just clinging on to those people, clinging on to them and just growing together with them. So I'm in it with you if you don't have those people yet. Like, I definitely have Christ-like friends and people that I love, but I think it's different when you just have it like in your local area and like y'all meet all the time together and y'all can just kind of grow together. So I'm looking for that as well right now, just because I know how good it was to have that in the past with my past small group. So I'm looking for that now with just like women that I can do life with in this time of my life. So I would say do not forsake community and keep on pressing. Even when it's hard, keep on pressing, putting yourself out there. I'm gonna put myself out there and try to meet some people, and I encourage you to do the same. So number 4 is being a good steward, okay? And this is so biblical and we don't be talking about it enough. Being a good steward of what the Lord gives you now. A lot of us want more. A lot of us might, struggle with jealousy or struggle with covetingness or what is it called? You try to have something else somebody else got. But you might struggle with that, like wanting something that you see. But honestly, it's so important to be a good steward of what God has given you now. And that means financially, like, are you in debt, right? Because we are called to be lenders, not borrowers, right? So are you in debt? Are you trying to get out of debt? Are you investing? Are you taking care of what God gave you now? Like, if you have a car, whether it's a newer car or older car, are you taking care of it? Or if it's an older car, are you like, oh, whatever, this is an old car, like I'm gonna wait till I get the next thing for me to take care of it? No. Take care of what God has given you now. Take care of your home. Take care of your things. Make sure you're being a good steward of your money. Make sure you are tithing. Okay? That is like holy girl habit 4.5. Make sure you are tithing and giving back to the storehouse and just trusting God in that way. Biblically, it says, test me, right? And he will give you more than your house can even contain. So make sure you're tithing and giving, that you're not being stingy with what he's given you, because it's not yours anyways. So make sure you're tithing and giving and not being stingy and holding on to things, and that you are honestly just showing the heart of the Lord in that way. Like, biblically, if we think about it, it's like, let no one come to you and ask you for something and you say, oh, I'll give it to you another day when you have it. So you want to make sure that even if you feel like you don't have so much or you're not flowing in abundance right now, that you're still being a good steward of what he's giving you, that you are budgeting. Y'all, I love budgeting. So I even have other videos on if you want to look into that. Make sure you're budgeting. Make sure you're trying to be really smart with your money and you're not just being part of the consumer culture, right? We are called to live differently. We're called to build an inheritance and leave money for our children's children, and all these things that you can only do if you're being a good steward of your money. Even if you are living in surplus, but you're living above your means, you still really are not being a good steward of your money. So you want to make sure that you're doing that in every way you can. Another thing, y'all, is you want to make sure you're being a good steward of the job that God has blessed you with. Want to make sure you're being on time if you can, which I know it can be a struggle, and that you're doing good work, that you're doing everything to the excellence of the Lord, right? That your clients or your patients or people that work with you, your coworkers, like they know you to do an excellent job. Even if you don't like your job right now, make sure you're still being good steward of that position, because at the moment that's where God has you. So there's impact that is left to be made by you. So you want to make sure that you are just praying into that and you're being very intentional with that. So just be a good steward over everything that God has blessed you with, and let that light just shine through you, and God will then be able to bless you more. I almost forgot, but there is a biblical parable where basically it talks about like a king leaving, I guess like money at that time with some of their servants, and one of the servants invested it, and the other one like hid it because they thought that the king or the owner was such a harsh man, so they hid it in fear. And literally the king comes back and it's like, what did you do? Like, you weren't a good steward over what I left you with. You didn't invest my money, you didn't do anything with it, you hid it in the ground. And that's like a wake-up call for us to make sure that we are doing good with what God has blessed us with, and not just being stingy or holding on to it, or living in like the scarcity mentality where it's like, if I let go of this, nothing else is going to come. Like, that is a lie from the enemy. That's not truth. So we have to make sure that we are being a good steward of what God has given us in every aspect of our life. Holy girl habit number 5. Some of y'all ain't gonna like this, but I'm gonna say what I gotta say. Watching what you watch and what you hear. What goes into your eyes and what goes into your ears is so important, right? This looks different for everyone, but I think like there is a common ground of knowing what is holy and what isn't. And I actually love one of my friends, like when we talk about community, how important that is. Whenever we used to do something, whether it was like maybe unintentionally gossiping or whatever it may be, she would always be like, y'all, is that holy? And it's like, ooh, like, okay, which is why community is so important. But when it comes to what you're watching and listening to, it's the same thing. Like, is this holy? Is this set apart? Like, would God be pleased in this, right? When it comes to movies and when it comes to TV shows, like there's just a lot of things right now that are considered normal, but we aren't called to conform to this world. So you have to be really intentional about what you're watching, what you're seeing on TikTok, what you're seeing on Instagram, what you're seeing on YouTube, on Netflix, because there's so much out there. And I think for anyone that struggles with like lust, porn, comparison, people pleasing, whatever it is, you just have to be so intentional and just really careful with these things, because that's how the enemy gets in, right? We think that, oh, it's no big deal, I'm just watching this thing, and little do we know we can't go to sleep at night, or little do we know we having thoughts about X, Y, and Z thing that we thought, crap, I was so close to getting over this. So you want to be really intentional about what you're watching and also what you're listening to. When I tell you music is so powerful, right? Like Satan was the angel of music. It is so powerful, and a lot of people argue about this. Oh, it's not that serious. It is that serious. I'm sorry. Like, it is that serious. You want to be really cautious about what you're listening to. Just because a song is popular and just because it's trending on TikTok doesn't mean it got to be your song. It really don't mean that. Like, you have to be really intentional about lyrics and what songs really mean, because you're letting that into your mind. Like, personally, I can hear a song a few times and remember the lyrics so quickly, which is why I'm really intentional about what I listen to, because I know myself. And then I'm like singing something and I'm like, whoa, why is this coming out of my mouth, right? Or why are these lyrics going through my head? So for me, I listen to secular music, but I'm very intentional about what kind of secular music I listen to. And there's certain artists that some of y'all might like, and I don't. I will not listen to their music. Like, I will not support them because they've either been really disrespectful to the Lord outright, or they just sing about things that do not align with my values or don't align with my spiritual compass. And I think that's okay to be like, no, I'm not going to condone that. Just like anything else in the world, right? Like, okay, I'm not going to condone that. I'm going to be set apart. And I feel like a lot of Christians struggle with this. Like, I don't know. And honestly, I think a big thing is just praying like, Lord, break my heart for what breaks yours, right? Give me spiritual eyes to see and spiritual ears to hear. And I think it'll become so much easier when you're just asking him for help to help you walk through it and make these decisions, because it's not going to happen overnight. But then you're going to be watching something and be like, maybe I should skip this part, or maybe I shouldn't be watching this show. Like, I could do without it. You know, I think the more you pray and trying to gain clarity will help you kind of get over those things if that's something you struggle with. And then also just, like I said, accountability. So if you're around other people, they can hold you accountable for what you're listening to and what you're watching and make it a little easier. But I think it's so important, and I think the enemy is so strategic, and he gets to a lot of us by what we watch and what we hear, and we just like are oblivious to it, so oblivious. So I would say just be so cautious of what you watch and what you hear. Obviously, you can still have fun and do stuff. Like, my life is still fun, but I don't really watch rated R movies. I don't listen to certain like very like sexual and vulgar secular music, and I'm okay. And I actually prefer it that way because I'm not having crazy thoughts or just like things going through my head all the time. So definitely be cautious of what you watch and what you listen to. So holy girl habit number 5 is reading your word. This should be a habit. Like literally this should be part of our DNA, which I know that that's easier said than done. I totally understand that. But reading our word is such an integral way to get closer to the Lord, know his heart, know his character, and not have to take what other people say as truth, but actually be able to cling on to actual truth, right? So this can be hard. Like having quiet time as much as you want can be hard, but if you can make that a daily thing and build that into your routine, honestly, I feel like that will be life-changing, just spending time with the Lord, praying, reading your word. If that's hard, or maybe you don't have enough time as you want to, listen to the Bible while you're in the car. If you have a long commute or even a short commute, just listen to the Bible while you're in the car. Listen to the Bible while you are cleaning. Some of us learn differently, so reading can help some of us, and then hearing and seeing can help another. I know like my husband, he'll like read while listening and looking, and it kind of helps him like retain the word more. So you want to make sure that you're just being strategic about getting into the word and writing it on your heart, and just make sure that you are constantly growing in that way. So make sure you are not losing that habit. It's so important to make sure that we're in the word, make sure that we're praying, make sure that we're spending time with God, so that we can just continue to grow in that way. So I cannot stress that enough, right? Praying and reading the word. But really, I feel like people pray and, well, sometimes we're just like saying things to God, we're not listening. So that's like another thing. Make sure that you're actually communing with the Lord, but also reading the Bible, I feel like can be forsaken by some people because it takes time, right? It takes time and intentionality, and it takes having the Holy Spirit guide you through that. So I would say that is definitely a habit that we don't want to lose, no matter how hard it is, just making sure that we are incorporating the Bible in our daily life, and that we're like meditating on the word and chewing on the word, and like talking to people about it, getting understanding, because some things can be confusing at first, like getting understanding, just sharpening ourselves in that way. Okay, so last but not least, holy girl habit number 7 is choosing obedience. This is a habit that you have to constantly do, and then it becomes a habit, right? But choosing obedience, choosing to say yes to God over and over and over again, even when it doesn't make sense, so that saying yes and choosing him becomes second nature, or becomes a little easier, right? So choosing to say yes when he tells you to go pray for someone, or he tells you to talk to someone you don't want to talk to, when he tells you to take that job that you don't understand why you would take that job, when another one pays more, another one is closer to where you want to be. When he tells you like, okay, maybe you need to go to this country and do this project, or maybe you need to start this business, or maybe you need to delete this social media platform, or maybe you need to break up with this person. All these things that sometimes we can rationalize, like, oh, God's not saying that. Even like things like, okay, I want you to stop eating this. Like, I want you to take better care of your body. Like, oh, if you keep doing this, you're going to lead yourself down to this path and this health problem. And a lot of times we can be like, oh, it's not that deep, but it's like God is speaking and you're just not listening. And I think the more we get into the habit of saying yes, even when things don't make sense, or even when they're scary, that shows him how much he can trust us with, right? So if you say yes to the smaller things, which are not small, right? They all add up spiritually, and God is doing something, he's working. If you say yes to those things, he knows like, okay, I can trust her. I can trust him with bigger things. So I think an amazing habit to build is saying yes, being obedient to God, even when it does or does not make sense, right? So choosing yes every time, choosing yes. Just choosing to say yes to him over and over and over again, showing him that you love him that much to be obedient, and that he can trust you, like he can trust you with your yes, right? Oh, that's so good. Okay, y'all, so those are the 7 holy girl habits that literally will transform your life, transform your relationship with God, and grow you continually into the person that you are called to be, which is what it's all about, and living in abundance, which is what my channel is all about, right? So I'm so excited to share this with you guys. I want you to comment down below 1 or 2 that really resonated with you, maybe a few that you might be struggling with, something you might need prayer for. I love communing with you guys and talking with you guys, and I want to create a community on this side of the internet. So make sure that you comment below. But yes, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was so much fun to make. Let me know if you have any other video suggestions, and I will definitely take that into consideration and record some of those. But yes, y'all, that is it. Leave any questions, comments, or suggestions down below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up, turn notification bell, all that good stuff, and most importantly, say it with me, do not forget that your life is totally worth living. I love you, and I'll see you next week. Bye.